this is Hanin, and I'm sitting here in Damascus, in the old town of Babshaki, with my good friend Treka.
Hello
from
everyone.
Damascus.
How are you guys doing?
And I thought this time we will not do anything funny and make people laugh, but I was really interested in listening to how life was for you. Like you came back from Nigeria,
Yes.
where you spent some time with your family in 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you came to a Syria that was blooming, the economy was fine, and
Yeah.
people were having fun. And I think you, as a youngster, you kind of liked living here, right?
Yeah, I loved living here. It was very, very nice. You know, I was raised in Nigeria. I stayed there for 15 years, but I used to visit Syria every year in the summer. Stay here for a month or 3 months or 2 months, like that, every year. When it became 2008, my big brother graduated from high school, and it was time to put him in a university. So we were doing some research, and we've found out that in Syria there are many international universities that they teach English and American curriculum or British curriculum. And at that time I was 10th grade going to the 11th grade. So we also discovered that in Syria there are international schools like the Pakistan International School of Damascus. It's in Yafur. They also teach everything in English. And there was also another school called Shwaifat school. So we saw, okay, so in Syria there are many international schools that teach in English. So we can go back to Syria because Syria is safer than Nigeria. Because in Nigeria we were having problems of Boko Haram, and we were having problems of, white people getting kidnapped. You hear a lot of stories like that. So we came to Syria in 2008. So when I first came to Syria, I was afraid, will I be happy here? Is it an extremist country? Is it like Saudi Arabia? Is it, like the Gulf countries where all the women are wearing hijab, alcohol is not allowed, and all this stuff? Then when I came to Damascus, I was very surprised that, wow, Syria is very, very modern, very, very secular. So we went to school, and we started enjoying life. I went to high school here, I graduated, and I did universities. I was very happy to know that, like, here in Syria, there's a very, very growing community of nightlives, many bars, many nightclubs. I remember in electronic music, techno house, electro house, DJs. And speaking of DJs, you just reminded me that I think in 2009 or 2010, they brought a DJ from Europe. His name is David Vendetta. He's really famous. He came to Syria. David Vendetta came to Syria and did a concert. He did like 3 concerts. He came 3 times. You had Above and Beyond. You have Ina. You had Ferry Corsten. Like, there are many, many international DJs that used to come every summer to do festivals and electronic music and events. And it was really, really cool.
And then what happened?
And then the crisis started in 2011.
Oh.
And that's when we started hearing of, first of all, it was protests, then we started hearing of people holding weapons, then people started killing, then people started getting divided, then you started hearing of new groups forming.
You just heard it. You felt still pretty safe in Damascus.
At first, yes. Yeah. The first couple of months, because it didn't start in Damascus, it started in a city called Dara.
And you, which area did you live?
I used to live in an area called Etsaya in western Ghouta.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a very conservative area. So in the first couple of months, all that was happening was protest. People in it used to go out. The people that are against the government, they used to go out and they used to protest for like 30 minutes in the square, then go back home, and nothing used to happen to them.
Did you also join some of the wishes for reform and protests?
Yeah, of course. When every citizen in any world, when you ask them, are you completely satisfied with your government, is going to tell you, no, I wish they can change this, I wish they can improve this, I wish they can eliminate this. So yeah, so the first couple of months they were protesting in the square. Nothing used to happen. There was no problem. The Syrian army, the police never entered, never spoke to them. Yeah. They kept them to do whatever they want. The problem started happening when these protesters started holding weapons. when they started holding weapons and becoming militants and inviting...
But was it the same people that you were hanging out with and going to the protests?
Yes.
The same people?
Same people that were living in the neighborhood. It was crazy. It's like,
and
of course, not all of them.
Suddenly had weapons.
Suddenly, not only had weapons, but suddenly they became very extremist people. Like I knew people in my neighborhood that I not grew up with, but for the past couple of years I was hanging out with every day. We used to go out, we used to play football, basketball, billiard, computer games, talk about girls and stuff like that.
And the same guys.
Then suddenly the same guys became extremists and they started talking about, we want to overthrow the government, we want to do jihad, we want to do all this stuff, join the Islamic army, implement Sharia law and all this crazy stuff. So
where did this come from?
I'm not really sure, but the main causes of this stuff are the sheikhs in the mosques. There were many sheikhs. I don't know what they call them in Arabic, in English. Is it also sheikh?
Yes.
Yeah, the sheikhs.
Imam.
Yeah, or the imams in the mosque. They used to do like gatherings every Friday, and they used to brainwash them that this is a secular country, but the majority are Muslim Sunnis. Why is it a secular law? We should make it Sharia law. We should eliminate.
So you are saying that these people were mostly Sunnis?
Mostly, yeah, mostly.
But where did the others, if there were any others, hear it from? They were just...
Now, what happened is that in Itzaya, there were people that became militants, and also the people of Itzaya started inviting militants from outside, from other areas, to enter Itzaya, and they were protecting them, and they were telling them, okay, sit down here, and we will protect you, and so on and so on. So the problem didn't start when the people like the mainstream media saying that as soon as people started protesting and calling for a new government, that the Syrian army just started, shooting them. That's a complete lie. Because for the first couple of months, they were protesting almost every day, and nobody interfered in what they are doing, because they have the right to protest and say whatever they want.
Yeah.
But it is when they started holding weapons and attacking the police stations and attacking army members and stuff, that's when the problem really started in Itzaya. So going back to your question of how did people suddenly, it's so strange, because I knew someone that was a very, very normal person. He used to, like I said, we used to play football, basketball, talk, blah, blah, blah. It was a very normal person. Then I remember one day I was sitting in his house and we were having a conversation. And I asked him, can you just, to summarize, why exactly are you against the Syrian government? Tell me the reason why you are protesting, rebelling, and supporting these jihadists. What he told me is the same thing. He said that because the majority of the Syrians are Sunni, why is an Alawi governing the country, and why isn't the government implementing Sharia law?
And what did you say?
I told him, first of all, whether the president is an Alawi or a Christian or a Druze or a Muslim, it shouldn't matter, because it's a secular country. So it doesn't matter what his religion is.
The government is not only one president.
Exactly.
There are so many Sunnis
from all the
in
religions,
the government.
From all the religions, not only Sunnis, from every single religion in Syria, you have people working in the government. So no one is no one has privileges over the other. Everyone is treated equally. So after I told him this, he told me, no, we are going to overthrow the government by force and we're going to implement Sharia law. And you, when he pointed to me, because I'm a Druze, I come from the Druze community. So he told me that you Druze, the people of Sweden, because he was pissed off at the people of Sweden because the city of Sweden is known to be one of the only cities in Syria that never protested against the government and never supported the militants, the jihadists. They were
loyal to the government.
They weren't loyal to the jihadists. So he was pissed at them, and he told me that you, the Druze people, when this is all over, we're going to go to the city of Sweden, kill all your men and marry your women. Wow. And that was the time when I ended my relationship with this person, and I went back home telling my mother that, okay, I think it's becoming not safe anymore to stay in this area. Then the next day, a huge militant fight between the rebels, the jihadists.
How old were you?
I was 18.
18.
It
With
was like
18,
the beginning.
You had the feeling and the fear that you and your family had to leave the area.
We had to leave, yes, because it was becoming very dangerous in that area, especially that we were the only non-Muslims in the neighborhood. And my mother was the only woman that is not wearing a hijab in the whole area. So we were very, very, different than the rest. So.
Yes.
So that's when we left. We went back to the city of Sweden where we are from. But that's how like the whole process started. It was very, very sad that when I became 18 years old, when you're 18, you have many, many things in mind. I want to go clubbing, I want to go parties, I want to be in a relationship with this girls and date this other girl and do this and do that. Like you have all this stuff that you are really excited of. I'm gonna go to college.
And you finish school and you're gonna be a doctor or whatever,
then suddenly,
or a turtle scientist.
Yeah, then suddenly God was like, you know what, sit your ass down because things are gonna get really, really dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, now Treka, you will have 8 years of crisis.
8 years of crisis, wars, economic sanctions, bombing, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Jabhat al-Nusra, Jaish al-Islam, all of them will be, So that's what happened. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So then you moved away.
I moved away.
Where did you move then afterwards?
I went to Sweden. We stayed there for a month or like 2 to 3 weeks. Then we traveled back to Nigeria.
Wow, okay.
We traveled back to Nigeria. We stayed there for a year.
You preferred Boko Haram to
We preferred Boko Haram.
jihadists?
Yeah, we were living in a city called Lagos, so it's far away from where Boko Haram is staying. So we went there for a year. Then when things in Damascus improved a little bit, we came back because we had to finish our universities and stuff like that. So we came back, but we didn't go back to Western Ghouta. We started living in the main city. So in the main city, Damascus, in those days that I'm talking to you in 2013 and up, Damascus city was safe from jihadists and terrorist groups, but it wasn't safe from missiles and mortars falling from Damascus countryside. So you still have jihadists, but in Damascus countryside,
and your
not in the main
area
city.
where you used to live before in Western Ghouta.
Oh my God! When I came back, things were dangerous.
Back, they had taken over.
They took over of the whole area.
Let me jump from exactly that time to now. If you talk to people from Western Ghouta, who you knew back in the days, if you see them now, and they experienced living with the jihadists and also being liberated afterwards, what do they prefer?
Of course, they prefer the government.
Now they are no longer...
Because the jihadists, they weren't like prophets. They were actually, what they call it, they were criminals.
Yes.
They were criminals because they used to enter and steal houses. Like for an example, we used to live in a house in Etsaya. When we left, they entered and they stole all the furniture, all the TV, all the stuff.
And of course, they did that with all the people.
Of course, it's not only us. So so they were killing, they were forcing people to pay. And plus, when they came to Etsaya and Western Ghouta, they made the whole life for everyone dangerous. They made it dangerous. They made it, everything became expensive. Everything became unsafe anymore.
Yes, and today I saw an interview by Vanessa Bili with a woman from Eastern Ghouta, I think.
Yeah.
And she said that they kidnapped their children.
Yeah.
They stole organs. And,
yes, that's what they do. They steal organs and they sell them in Turkey.
Horrible things.
Very, very horrible things. And when I came back to Syria, I started getting frustrated of the situation, because it's your country, and I really love Syria, and I love my country, and I love my people.
And you love to discuss with people, but
yes.
you just couldn't.
I couldn't.
These people were so brainwashed, you just couldn't reach them anymore.
Yeah, and what happened is that when I came back and I was seeing the situation, I really tried to, be optimistic and stuff like that, but whenever I would look at the mainstream media and how they are reporting about Syria, I would always notice that they are always saying lies about Syria.
Yes.
They're always
They're saying the opposite.
Everything is the opposite. The ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they were calling them moderate rebels. They were calling them freedom fighters. They were saying that the Syrian government is just, casually bombing hospitals and schools and just killing people randomly.
On a daily
basis.
With barrel bombs.
With barrel bombs, yeah. So I was getting...
Which is actually impossible because they had tow missiles and other things. If a helicopter would try to be on top of a building, they would have just...
Exactly.
blown it away.
So what happened is that I was looking at the mainstream media, looking at the news, and I was trying to find a news channel that was saying the truth about Syria, but I just couldn't find. They were all lying, whether it was CNN, or Fox News or MSNBC or whatever,
Is this
BBC.
what you used to watch before?
This is what we all used to watch, you know. Then I was like, okay, wait, these people are not credible. They either don't know what the hell they are talking about.
And then there are the cool kind of left wing, the Independent.
But look, even Fox
Huffington
News.
Post.
Even
and
Fox
they
News.
also lied.
Yeah, Fox News is right wing and they're also lying. So it's not about left or right. They were both lying. So what I then decided to do, I was like, wait, I am a Syrian. I am living in Syria. I am seeing everything that is happening. So why don't I do a video, you know, just to explain to the people what is really going on, what is happening in Syria, who we are fighting, and why are these rebels strong? Where are they getting their weapons? Why are they funded by the West? Why is Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Qatar helping them out with the mainstream media and with the weapons and aids in whether it is health aids or weapons or technology? So I did my first video and it got viral.
Yes,
you know,
I saw it.
And I was really happy the next day because I did the video, I posted it, and I went to sleep. Then the next day my girlfriend called me and she was like, Treka, you're on TV right now. I was like, I'm on TV. Then I clicked on the Syrian news channel and they were like, they had like a program talking about what is going viral today on the internet. And they were like, there's this guy, his name is Treka.
Oh my God, you had so many clicks.
Yeah. So it was really nice. And then not only that the Syrian people appreciated what I did, but people from the West started following me. They were like, I saw your video, it was really cool. Can you explain more about the white helmets? Can you explain to us what happened in the chemical attack? What's happening in Douma? There were then a lot of people started asking. Then I felt that I have a responsibility to say this. Although before I started doing all this political
you
video,
just wanted to be funny and
I was doing stand-up comedy in bars and clubs. That is what I used to do. I used to do stand-up comedy. I did stand-up comedy shows here.
You wanted a distraction for yourself from the politics and from the war.
I used to do stand-up comedy in this building. Right. Yeah, I did in the roof twice.
Yeah, we're here in Gallery Mustafa Ali,
Gallery.
by the way. And, and the artwork you see is all Mustafa's.
Yeah, he's a really talented sculptor. Sculptist or sculptor, I don't know.
Yeah, he was just in the art fair in Beirut.
Yeah. So that's what I used to do. I started doing stand-up comedy in shows and music and rap and beatbox. Then I did the online thing explaining the Syrian crisis. Then I started getting more support, and that's when I said, okay, wait, let me start taking this really seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's how it all began.
And was your family concerned about your safety when you would talk so openly about
yes, of course,
actually being on the side of the Syrian government?
Yes, of course, because
those were dangerous times. It wasn't
very
sure
dangerous times.
Who would
very
win.
dangerous.
It wasn't sure who would win.
Very dangerous
so you took
times.
A big risk.
Yes, because in those days I used to insult ISIS and insult their ideology and what they stand for, and I used to
camel pee and stuff like this.
And
small penises.
Yes, and hairy baboons, and their beard looks like my pubic hair, and I used to say all this crazy stuff. So even that is one of the reasons why my first page got hacked. You know, I had a page that had 100,000 followers and millions of views. And it got hacked by some guy living in Pakistan that supports ISIS. Just because of the videos that I was doing. Because maybe I was really exposing them and they started witnessing that, okay, this guy is getting...
You made them angry.
And he's getting a lot of followers from the West. So wait, we have to bring him down. So of course, my parents were afraid for my security. But you know, at that time, I reached to the point that I had nothing to lose anymore. My life was already in danger whether I spoke the truth or I didn't speak. Because I could have just simply walked in the street and a missile or a mortar would have fell and killed me.
Exactly.
So I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm gonna die anyway. In any second, it's really possible.
It's better to have spoken out
Let me tell the whole world what is really going on. Let me tell the world that what is happening in Syria is not a peaceful revolution like the mainstream media is saying. What is happening in Syria was planned years before, because from the very first month of the whole crisis started, the Syrian government and army started discovering tunnels from Dir'a to Jordan. And these tunnels, you can't build them in 2 or 3 days or 1 week. It takes 6 months, if not more, to build a tunnel from one country to another country, an underground tunnel.
Machines.
Exactly, you need machines. So this is very clear that what happened in Syria was planned. It wasn't, you know, just like natural. And second of all, these jihadists, they're not all Syrians. They're not all Syrians rebelling the Syrian government. You have fighters from Afghanistan, from Libya, from Iraq, from Pakistan, from many different countries, including European countries like Canada and Germany and UK, and these thankfully have all been proven right now. When I used to say this stuff 4 years ago, people used to say, "Oh, you're crazy. Canadian terrorist, it's impossible."
It's all proven.
Then after a couple of years,
fighters.
Then after a couple of years, we saw on the news that Justin Trudeau's bringing back the ISIS fighters that came from Canada. Yeah. Then we started hearing about this UK woman that came to Syria and married an ISIS fighter, and now that ISIS has been defeated, she's asking the British government to bring her back. But this stuff, not only me, you, Kivor Kalmassian, and Sarah Abed, and all these patriotic Syrians, we used to say all this stuff 4 to 5 years ago, but the majority of the people and the mainstream media used to say that we are liars. Yes. But now, that we're in 2019, this is something that nobody can deny anymore. Yeah. Obama actually found that...
Some questions that they used to ask every day for like 5 years, they just can't ask anymore.
They can't ask.
They are
because
debunked.
now, it's been proven.
But the US now starts it again to talk about the chemical weapons in May.
It's true. This is one of the things, you know, when...
they keep repeating the lie, even though the OPCW hasn't found any proof.
Yes.
And people from that area said that the children were given, promised like dates and figs and stuff.
True.
Because they were hungry, they all ran there, and then they just sprayed them with water.
Yeah, let's not forget.
And of course, it was ice cold water, so the kids were like screaming. And
it was all an act. It was all an act. It's the white helmets, and this is not the first time they have staged a chemical attack or a fake video. There are many videos. Didn't you remember the video of the camera guy that said,
the mannequin challenge?
The mannequin challenge. It was like 3, 2, 1, action. The guy suddenly, oh, my nipples, oh, Assad is burning me, you know? So,
oh, help me.
So this thankfully has been proven, but you know, at the beginning, many people in the West were saying a lie. And coming back to the American thing, look, I've always said this in my page for years. I always tell my American followers and the people watching that, listen guys, unfortunately, but this is the truth. No matter who the president is, whether he's from the Democratic Party or from the Republican Party, the America's foreign policy will never change. Because
somehow everyone who is in the place of president
it's just continuing.
And his ministers, they kind of get their brains removed. They can't remember any promises, and they just have this neocon idea programmed in their brain.
Let's not forget
huge Zionist ideas.
Let's not forget the military-industrial complex. You know, they play a huge role in all these wars, and to them, war is a very profitable business. They don't want the war to end. Because as long as the war is still going, they're making more money, they're stealing the oil, they're stealing all the gold and all this stuff. Because they didn't only do it to Syria. They did it to Iraq and they did it to Libya. And I don't know who's going to be next. Maybe Iran tomorrow.
Iran, it looks like it.
Yes. No. So this is what is happening in Syria, unfortunately. But you know, we're not going to keep on talking negative because now in 2019, more than 80 to 85% of Syria is now liberated.
And I heard that Syria has zero depth.
Thankfully, yes. And I hope it stays this way. I hope it stays this way. And Syria before the crisis was considered one of the safest countries in the Middle East, knowing that the Middle East is one of the most dangerous areas in the world. It was the safest country in the Middle East.
But even now, me as a woman not speaking anymore Arabic, I travel here alone. I take the bus at night and stuff like this.
Really
I feel super safe.
Yes.
Really.
Maybe if you came like 5 years ago, you wouldn't have felt because in the morning and afternoon and night, missiles and mortars were always falling. In Damascus, minimum 20 mortars used to fall every day in different areas.
This is the 4th year I'm coming to Syria.
Yeah.
And now there are much less mortars.
Thankfully, and there's no more mortars. It's only
in Aleppo.
In
Aleppo,
the
I heard
Idlib
some
area.
artillery and missiles.
Yes.
But that was in the western countryside of Aleppo.
That's because it's close to Idlib. But now Idlib is the last city under the control of the hairy baboons. Yeah. So that is all we have to do.
Why isn't the Western media showing that the people of Idlib that they care so much for are trying to escape through humanitarian corridors, and what are they doing again? They are shooting at them. They are sniping at them.
Yeah, this is what the ISIS and the Al-Qaeda are doing.
This
is what they did in Western Ghouta.
Everywhere.
What they would do is they would attack the Syrian army and attack destroy public places, burn, and do all this crazy stuff. And then when the Syrian army enters to attack them, do you know what they do? They hide behind the civilians.
Yes.
They hide behind the civilians in their
They
buildings.
need them as human shields.
Exactly.
And as like kidnappers do, they need hostages.
Exactly, because when the Syrian army sees them hiding behind civilians, they won't attack them anymore. So this is what is happening in Syria, unfortunately. But you know, thanks to people like you, like Kivork Almasyan, the founder of Syrian Analysis, Sarah Abed, and all these Syrians that really use social media as a platform to tell the truth to all these people. If it wasn't for us, many people would have still been brainwashed.
Yeah,
so I'm really happy for that.
But for us, it's like if we wouldn't say it, we would get cancer or something, because it's like screaming out of every pore in my body that this is not just.
Maybe that is what came with an advantage for me, because I was a stand-up comedian, so I didn't do my videos as a formal political analysis video, you know. Okay, so today the Syrian army entered and killed 13 jihadists in the area. No, I did it really in a comedy way. I spoke to the viewers in a way that friends talk, and there were 18 plus jokes, and there were dirty jokes, and
yes,
so
but you have the language and the intelligence to do so.
So this attracted people to watch more, and it also made them laugh and also learn at the same time. So the videos weren't boring. You know, sometimes if you watch a video that is really formal, you might be like, okay, this is so boring. I don't want to.
It's too dry.
It's too dry. So yeah, and that really helped me in a way. So I used my comedy history to implement it in the politics.
You used comedy, but you suffered a lot of sad losses.
Of course, you know.
Which you don't show.
I don't show, yes.
And when we were in Malula together, you told me, just by the way, my was killed here.
Yes.
And I was like, what? Oh my God.
Yeah, they killed him in the street. The jihadists, when the ISIS people entered the Christian town of Malula, to the people that don't know.
And you had an uncle there or a cousin? Or?
It's my dad's cousin.
Your dad's cousin?
My dad's cousin, because my mom is from Malula.
Yeah.
So his cousin there, he's very known in the church in Malula. So when they entered Malula, these jihadists, they started killing the Christians and the people that support the government.
How long were they in Malula for? From when to when? Do you remember?
I'm not so sure, but like a few months, not so long.
Yes.
Because immediately the Syrian army entered and they started
not only
liberated.
Syrian army.
Yeah, even people from Saydnaya and people from Hezbollah.
The people from the next towns, they were all armed and coming, and that's why in Malula they were so proud and
they were
still
so
shooting,
happy. Yes.
You know, because they also want to show their strength, that they fight for their beliefs.
True. So they came to Malula, they burnt a lot of old churches and monasteries, crosses that are very, very old and, you know, historic. This is part of our history. They were breaking it and killing Christians, they kidnapped nuns. It was very, very ugly, you know. I wouldn't wish it on my enemies to experience what the Syrian people have experienced during this crisis. But, you know, this has made us more aware. It has unified us. You know, the West were planning to divide the Syrians, to make it a sectarian war. They were, until today, they're still trying to make a Kurdish state and make an Alawi state, then in the south make a Druze state, and in the middle make a Sunni state, and then send all the Christians out from Syria to either Beirut or to immigrate to the West. This is their plan. Yeah. Because
there's the song that says
Alawi Dirzi at Tabut wal Masiha Beirut. This is the chant they used to say in their protest, which means the Alawis and the Druze will go to the grave and the Christians will be kicked out to Beirut, the capital of Lebanon. So this was one of their plans, and thankfully it didn't work out, and it will never work out, because the Syrian people are very, very aware and they're educated. They're not dumb people, because if we were dumb people, in the situation in Syria, believe me, would have been way more worse than it is now.
No, for all education that I missed in Germany in schools, where we were just taught the regular king blah blah and queen blah blah. I have to ask Syrian people, because they are so well educated in a political and geopolitical field, very much so. So, and they told me about the 7C theory, that in Aleppo, there's this thing where the snipers used to shoot, and there's how
Yeah.
to say water fountain, yeah, with the 7 seas,
Yeah.
and that represents that Syria was and always will be a very
Diverse.
not only diverse, but also it is surrounded by lots of water, and it's
It is.
geopolitically in the center of everything. If you want to deal with things, you know, if you want to deal with oil and gas, you have
If you
to.
in the Middle East, if you want to go
Yes.
to Europe, you have to pass through Syria, and this is also one of the main reasons why the West targeted Syria. It's also because of a gas pipeline deal that the Syrian government didn't agree to do, a gas pipeline deal that will pass from Syria to Europe.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is also because it's more than one reason. People think that the reason why the West targeted Syria was one reason. It's more than one reason. First of all, the Syrian government and the president is not a puppet to the West. So he doesn't take orders from the United States. So this is something that upsets the United States. They want a president like the Jordanian king, for an example. They'll be like, hey, do this, yes, sir. Shave your armpit, yes, sir. You know, like whatever they say. So this is one reason. The second reason was also the gas pipeline. Third reason is the geopolitical location of Syria, the geographical location of Syria.
Yes.
It's in the middle of the Middle
if
East.
there is peace in Syria, it's very bad for the other people. If there's stability in Syria, and Syria is very loyal to their allies like Iran
and Russia and China.
Yes, and now the Americans strategically put themselves between North Syria and Iraq, the border to Iraq, because actually Iraq wants to be with Syria and wants to have the free flow to deal between Europe, Syria.
And plus the American military base, is it a coincidence that it's always in areas that are rich in oil?
Yes.
Is it a coincidence?
And there are always ISIS there.
And there's always
They
ISIS
never
there.
disappear.
I'll give you the best example to the people that still are not finding it hard to believe this. When the ISIS fighters entered the city of Sueda, which is in the south of Syria, they went to the city of Sueda in 3 a.m. in the morning. And they started breaking into houses, killing men and kidnapping women and children. So people were asking, how the hell did ISIS enter the city of Sueda? Then we later on discovered that they entered from Al-Tanf area. And Al-Tanf area is an area in the border of Syria where there is an American military base there.
Yes.
So are you going to
there is
convince
nothing
me?
but this
It's a
military
desert.
base
It's
there.
a desert area.
They must be so bored.
The American technology must be so weak to the point that they didn't discover these ISIS people unless they were the ones that told them, you know what, just go.
But with satellites, you could see like one
course.
truck after the
Of
other,
course,
Toyota, and
no.
dust everywhere,
This-
black flags in the sky.
Exactly. So they knew 100% that these people are attacking, and they allowed it because they want chaos to stay in the country. They don't want stability and security. So
and they fly them in and fly them out.
They not only that. A long time ago, 4 to 5 years ago, I was telling the people that America is sending them weapons. People were saying, no, you're lying. How do you know this? I told them for one simple reason.
And Dilyana, for example, she's a journalist from Bulgaria.
Yeah.
And she found out that they shipped and flew out these weapons with diplomatic flights.
Yeah.
Even from Germany. From
NATO countries, they all
from
played
their
a huge
military
role.
base with diplomatic passports and flew out these weapons.
Yeah, and to all the Western people that are getting butthurt from all these facts, I can also tell them that the whole problem is not only from the West. It's not only America's fault and UK's fault and France's fault.
It's also Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, because there are also countries in the Middle East that also played a huge role. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, and Turkey. These 4 countries.
UAE.
Yeah, UAE. The Gulf countries in general, they all played a huge role and they finance. But going back to what I was saying about the American sending them weapons. People were saying, how do you know that the Americans are sending them weapons? I told them for very simple reasons. The Syrian government and army buys all its weapons from Russia. All our weapons are made in Russia. So
but
how the hell...
on these diplomatic flights, they also had Russia-style weapons,
No,
so that it's
but
not
most
traceable.
most of their weapons, like whenever
US weapons.
when the
So
Syrian army would enter an area under the control of ISIS and would liberate it, they would run away. So would enter their stores and their buildings, would find weapons, technologies, devices.
Israeli,
Yes,
mostly.
made in US, made in Israel, made in Europe. So it was very clear to us because we don't buy our weapons from them. We don't buy our weapons from NATO countries or from the US or from Israel. So how the hell are these weapons entering Syria? So it's either directly.
But they lost with these weapons.
Yes, of course. So it's either
Just
directly.
like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi Barbaria, please. Yes.
Saudi Barbaria.
Yeah. So it's only two choices. Either they sent the weapons directly to ISIS, or they sent them via Saudi Arabia.
They
Saudi
said
Arabia
it was always a mistake that they lost billions of
they would
weapons.
send the weapons to the Free Syrian Army, but it will always end up in the hands of ISIS. When I used to tell them there is no difference between the Free Syrian Army or ISIS
remember?
or Al Qaeda or Jabhat, they're all the same groups. They may have different names. They may be funded by different countries, but they all share the same Wahhabi ideology.
Exactly.
That's how you have fighters from Jabhat al-Nusra leaving Jabhat al-Nusra and joining Jaish al-Islam or joining Al Qaeda.
Yeah.
So it's the same shit, but
Do you
different
remember
smell.
how many mistakes the US made, like accidentally bombing 60 Syrian soldiers?
I don't think
Or-
it was accidentally.
Of course not.
Yeah.
And accidentally bombing a wedding with 40 people here, with 30 people there, and accidentally using white phosphorus. In
Everything
Raqqa.
is an accident, yes,
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
So this has become very clear to us, and we are trying our best to inform the people outside. Because look, all these wars, it's all from the people's tax money. They are the ones that are paying taxes, and at the end of the day, instead of the government to use this money to rebuild their country, to improve the infrastructure, or help the
Healthcare.
homeless, or help the homeless, or
Like in
healthcare.
Syria now, I visited a hospital in Aleppo, which I
Yeah.
try to support every year. And when people get treatment there, it's for free. When they need medication, they get medicine, Syrian medicine. I had like a stomach problem and it was really bad. And so the doctor gave me something directly. They asked for nothing.
Yeah, here
Nothing.
you have
And
public.
everyone is treated for free.
Yeah,
and
public
gets medication
hospitals,
for
it's
free.
not only-
And Syria has no depth at the IMF.
Yeah, it's not only hospitals. We have public schools, public universities. So there are many things
Yes.
that are for free for the Syrian people. So, but
And they have the greatest army.
yes, we have the greatest army. Yes, I'm very proud of them because if it wasn't for the Syrian army, Syria would have been destroyed. A lot of people would have been killed. And you know, these people, they're putting their lives every single day in danger. So we are doing our part, which is informing through journalism, through social media and stuff. But they are the
And
ones
they
that
take
are
the
really
bullets. They are at the front
They are the
lines,
ones that are
fighting these
really
hairy baboons.
exactly
For
so,
our safety and the safety of their children.
yeah, and just one more thing to make it clear, you know, there is just something that really pisses me off from the people in the West, because whenever they talk about the Syrian army, they always talk about them like they are Assad's friends, or
Assad's
Assad forces or Assad's homies, when they really have to know that the Syrian army are not they're not Assad's friends, and they're not from Assad's religion or family. They are Syrian citizens coming from every single Syrian city, from every single Syrian religion.
They are
from
very
every
young
single,
ones, very old ones.
Yes,
because
young
they
one,
just have
old
to
ones,
fight for
people
them.
that are Muslims, people that are Christians, people
Yes.
that are Alawis, people that are Druze, people
Women.
that are Kurds, people that are Armenians, different ethnicities, different religions. So the Syrian
Women,
army
men.
doesn't, so the Syrian army doesn't represent the Syrian government. They actually represent the Syrian people. When the Syrian army is fighting ISIS, they're not protecting Assad, they're protecting the Syrian people from ISIS.
Yes.
So this is something the West should really understand, because when they talk about the Syrian army, they talk to...
And they also protect Europe. They also protect
exactly, because these
the
jihadists
terrorists
are
to
gonna go
escape
to Europe.
through Turkey into Germany, into Sweden,
Into Europe, yes.
UK, France, everywhere.
And by the way, the Syrian government said this from the beginning of the Syrian crisis. They said, if you guys keep on funding jihadists and ISIS and
It
Al
will
Qaeda,
backfire.
it's gonna backfire, and there's gonna reach a time where they're gonna reach out to Europe, because it's not their goal is not only Syria. Their goal is to implement Sharia law in the whole world, to make the whole world an Islamic country.
And
So
we had a lot of these attacks happening.
of course, because when the Syrian army used to liberate areas in Syria, when these jihadists used to see that, okay, my life is getting in danger, do what they do, because they would have already saved money from the US and from Saudi Arabia, taken every month. So they would pack up their bags, shave their pubic hair from their chin, and wear a Nike T-shirt to look cool, and then go to Europe and seek asylum and say that we are refugees and we are running away from the brutal dictatorship and all this BS
And
stuff.
of course, the European governments
Would allow
are
them.
not dealing with the Syrian government in checking maybe fingerprints and
Nothing.
exchanging
I've
what
seen-
this person has done.
Exactly. I've seen videos of a black person, an African person, in the camps in
that's
Germany,
old.
and
Saying he's
saying he's a
Syrian.
Syrian. And I was like, oh wow.
Was his
we
name
didn't-
Bilal?
I don't know what his name
Bilal
is.
Abdul
Yeah,
Karim?
yeah, something like that. But I was like, wow. I didn't know that in Syria we had people that had a lot of sun tanning. Because look, I'm so white. I'm whiter than a bag
Yeah,
of cocaine.
it's really rare.
Yeah.
To
So
be honest.
this is very obvious to us, and thankfully things have been exposed now. Like now in 2019, many people are more aware of what has been happening in Syria than in 2012 or
Yes.
13. So we're going in a positive direction, and now tomorrow when we liberate the city of Idlib, things will get back hopefully to normal.
Yes.
All that will be remaining is a challenge that we Syrians all have, which is the economic sanctions.
Yes.
This is
The
what is
sanctions must be lifted. This is the worst terrorism.
yes, because the Western countries, whenever they have a problem with any government,
Yes.
the first thing they do is cut all relationship with them, which means they close down all their embassies, bring back all their citizens from Syria, and second of all, they would
No Visa card works.
Of course,
Nobody
of course.
can pay anything with PayPal to them.
Nothing.
They cannot have
And
any
then they
accounts.
would impose economic sanctions on us. And this is a very stupid and dumb strategy, because when they impose economic sanctions, they think that what they are doing is actually hurting the Syrian government. When in reality,
No.
what they are doing is
No,
they are
no.
hurting the Syrian people.
They know exactly that they hurt the Syrian people.
They want them to
They
reach to
want
a
the
point.
people to become so angry at their government
Yes.
that they kick it
They would
down.
rebel. They would get sick
but
of their
only
life.
very, very stupid people would
Yeah,
do that.
but I'll give you examples of why these economic sanctions should be lifted. Most importantly is the medicine. We have people in hospitals right now that are very sick, that need specific medication to be cured. But because of the economic sanctions, we are not able to import these medicines or bring them from abroad. So there are a lot of people that are unfortunately dying or getting sick, and their situation is getting worse because we are not able to get them the medicine they are asking for.
Or special treatments like
Yes.
oxygen.
Many things. It's not only about medicine. Economically, like the situation here in Syria is really bad. Like the salaries range from $50 to $150, and this is nothing. Nobody can save up. No one can build a future. Nobody can get married or buy a house or open a
Syrian
business.
people are so generous. Whenever they are with you, they want to invite you and buy you everything.
Yeah.
Give you like souvenirs and presents and food and drink and everything.
When in reality they are
When-
suffering economically.
Yes.
Yeah. So
They don't want you to feel it, but
Yeah.
And this breaks my heart.
it's part of how we were raised. Like if you're a visitor here, you are or a guest.
I feel like a queen whenever.
Yeah, like you can't leave the
Really.
house without eating. You can't leave the house hungry, and it's
The Syrian
amazing.
people haven't lost their spirit, so
Yes, that's the good
please
thing.
just spare them the sanctions. Go protest wherever you are. Go on the street. Say that your government should stop.
Yes, you should really make your
arming
voices heard.
terrorists and do something. I mean,
They really should, because these economic sanctions are really hurting the Syrian people in ways that you guys can never understand. Like, I'll give you an example. Before the crisis, 48 Syrian pounds made $1. Today, 620
Yes.
Syrian pounds will make $1. So you can imagine how bad. You're talking like 13 times higher now. So, and the salaries are still the same. So
and there's another problem. They can't even use their own oil because the US and ISIS and the Kurds are sitting on the biggest oil fields.
Exactly.
And if they want to import oil from
They
Iran,
would stop it.
They will stop it and
Or attack
sanction
the oil.
Iran for sending the Syrian people oil to heat in the winter and drive cars.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, meat. what happened to meat? I mean, there's nearly no meat available, and if so, it's really expensive. Same with cheese. Cheese got horrendous
Everything became
price.
expensive.
Eggs,
Everything.
stuff
It's
like
not
this.
only meat and cheese.
Yeah.
It's everything. Everything in general became expensive.
Yes, but just to show some examples, things
Yes.
that people need daily.
Normal stuff
Yeah.
became very expensive, and every single Syrian citizen right now has to work 2 to 3 jobs to get things going, not to be able to become financially stable, to get things going from the first till the end of the month. So these are problems that we are trying to spread
Look how
more
skinny he
awareness.
is.
Look how skinny I am. Do you know how fat I used to be? Oh my God. Yeah, so this
Hey,
is
and
it.
what about freedom of speech? I mean, we talk, and we don't even think about somebody could listen to
Yeah,
us
yeah.
and put us into jail.
Yeah. People think
And
that
torture us.
people think that the situation in Syria, like under Bashar al-Assad, is like the way it used to be under Hafez or the people behind him. But here in Syria, look, we talk, we say there are many people.
You must be paid by the government if you talk about them so well, right?
Yeah. No,
I mean,
of course
that's
not.
what people suggest.
Look,
We get nothing.
The thing with the Syrian government is very, very clear. Right now, I'm a Syrian citizen. What I really care about and what I really love and my loyalty is to Syria. It's not to the Syrian government. It's to my country, Syria. I want Syria to be in a good place, in a good situation, and to, be better. So right now, as a Syrian citizen, I am sitting down and I'm looking at the situation. Okay, what is happening? We have the Syrian army, which represents the Syrian people and the Syrian government. Who are they fighting? They're fighting ISIS.
Yes.
They're fighting Al-Qaeda. They're fighting Jabhat al-Nusra. They're fighting Jaish al-Islam. So logically speaking, if I'm gonna pick a side, with who am I going to pick? Am I going to pick with the open-minded people or secular people, or am I going to support jihadists
Same here.
and ISIS and Al-Qaeda? So I'm just being logical with the people. Of course not. Maybe tomorrow when the Syrian war is completely over, then we can then start talking about things in the Syrian government that we can change or remove. But right now we can't talk about we have to remove the president when Syria is going through a very, very
And
serious
this president,
problem. Yeah.
they love him even more now because he
course.
stayed with them.
Exactly, he didn't run
And-
away like a
and
coward.
he kept calm, and everything
plus
he
the
said
Syrian
was true.
Yeah, and plus the Syrian president,
Yes.
just for all of your information, the Syrian president had the freedom to pack his bags, take millions, and go and seek asylum, whether it is in Russia or in Europe, and he would be completely safe.
But he
and
felt
free.
that the people
No,
need him.
But
and
he stayed in his
they
country and he fought for his own people and kept putting his life in danger to liberate Syria from all these jihadists. So this is something we Syrian people respect him for. He showed us courage. He showed us
Absolutely.
loyalty. He didn't leave his people when things got rough. So
Yeah.
yes.
And if you compare it to all the promises the others made, he has kept his promises.
It's true. So yeah, that is what is happening here in Syria, and we really hope that from here to next year the whole war would be over.
Hopefully.
The economics.
But I don't think, I see that they are really bad losers and that they are trying to make your life
They will never
miserable.
stop. They will never stop.
They will
They
try
will
to.
never stop because they have an agenda, and this plan to overthrow the Syrian government is not a plan that they recently came up with. This was a plan 15 years ago already in plan.
And
they
this
said
is
we
one
were
step?
gonna.
Syria was one
it's one
step?
step. They wanted to start with Iraq,
General
Egypt,
Wesley
Libya.
Clark was his
yes,
name, right?
exactly. He came up and he said.
7 countries in
7
5 years,
countries.
or 5 countries
Yeah,
in
something
7
like
years.
that. It was Syria, Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, and then finally they would stop
Iran.
at Iran. So this is a plan. And now, as you can see, now they are flirting with the idea of going to war with
Yes,
Iran after
they're
saying
trying
that
to
Iran.
find any reason for
Yes,
Iran to be
yeah.
guilty of this, of that.
Yeah, they were like, oh, the Iranian president farted. He must support chemical weapons. It's time to act, I don't know what's wrong with them, but I hope we see
But
peace and
Syria
stability
now
in
has
the region.
has a new constitution.
Yeah,
So what do you think of that?
it's good. It's
Yeah.
better than the old one.
And also amnesty for people with minor crimes, of course, not
Yeah.
mass murderers.
This is a misconception people have
No.
with the Syrian government because I've spoken to people in the government about this situation. They told me that if someone left Syria but while he was in Syria joined ISIS or Al-Qaeda, if this guy comes back, we're gonna put him in jail because
Yeah.
he deserves to be in jail because he has blood on his hand. And if someone had a military service that he ran away from, when he comes back, he has to finish his military service. But if there is a normal Syrian citizen that ran away from Syria for security reasons and wants to now come back, he will face no problem, and he wouldn't be put in jail, or they won't kill him, or like all this stuff that people are talking. But of course, if someone is an ISIS member, was an ISIS member and came back, if the Syrian government forgives him, I'll be like, you know what, fuck this shit, I'm against it. No, as if someone was with an ISIS or joined ISIS or Al Qaeda and comes back to Syria, oh no, we should rape him in jail. Yes, for sure, no doubt, because he deserves it. Because you can't forget all the innocent people that died because of this animal. So I am with punishing ISIS and Al Qaeda member, because these people, they're not human beings. We've seen a lot of stuff. Every single Syrian citizen have lost a friend, a neighbor, and a relative because of them. I've lost cousins. I've lost my uncle. Many people, they died because of this Syrian war. We've seen videos of ISIS member cutting a heart of a Syrian soldier and eating it in camera. So
there are some things I've seen in this war, even only on video, but I will never forget it.
So only if you're Jesus.
Kafrea and Fua, the bus of the Shia people.
Yeah, or the people that they put them they put people in cages and burn them. So it's more than one thing. So unless you're Jesus, then you might start talking about forgiveness. But we as Syrian people, we can't really,
if not for the government and the allies, this would be a daily thing.
Especially Russia, if Russia didn't enter and help us with their military advances or their airplanes and their information, ISIS maybe would have expanded a lot more than it was going to. But when the Russian army, some people say that the American military was the one that helped destroy ISIS. And I did a video talking about it and explaining it in details.
Accidentally shooting the Syrian army and not ISIS.
Yeah, I told them,
giving them an advantage.
Yeah, you can check it out on my page after this video finishes. There's a video that I explain the difference between the Russian and the American military intervention in Syria. The American military bases was in Syria years before Russia entered. And I showed them a map of how ISIS was continuously expanding and getting in control of more areas.
Because they destabilized Iraq.
Yeah. But when the Russian army entered and started fighting ISIS, suddenly we started seeing ISIS shrinking. Although America was in Syria years before Russia entered, and they were telling the whole world that we are in Syria to fight ISIS. But suddenly ISIS was just expanding. So this showed us...
And what did John Kerry say in a secretly recorded...
that Treka's lips are very sexy and I would like to kiss them. Yeah, I saw the video, Yeah, John Kerry, he's an animal. He was...
talking to the Syrian opposition.
Not only John Kerry, what was that guy's name too? He's a Republican. John McCain.
Oh, yes.
He has a picture here in Syria with the rebels. Yeah. So these people, they're all animals. So it's not only... Obama started this shit, and Obama was a Democrat. John McCain, he's a Republican.
They were counting on ISIS to destroy Syria and its president.
So, and the Syrian people, and to put a puppet. So this is what is really going on in Syria, and I hope you guys are taking notes, because these are all very, very important information. And hopefully in 2021, when I become what? The president of Syria, all of this.
The mayor of Sueda.
Yeah. Things will improve,
small.
Right? Yeah. Hanin will be the first lady, and you'll see us. Yeah, making
We're
stuff.
We're gonna get married.
Yes,
okay.
Of course, because in 2021, when I become president, I need a first lady, right?
Right.
Yeah. So all this stuff,
And Syria needs connections to Germany. So
True.
Me as a half German, we could.
That's good. Yes.
Bring some.
Mercedes, German people
in stuff.
Yeah, Mercedes, Benz, Porsche, and all these good cars. So yeah, why not?
Okay, guys. Thank you so much, Treka.
No problem.
It was fun. I could continue with you.
Yeah, we can talk
hours,
for hours.
But
yeah.
I think this, for now, it's enough.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in our next video.
Bye.
Bye.